keep burping. Not the worst. Got it. What's up guys, it's Amanda here and I'm back with another art video. Today's video is going to be more of an art related discussion rather than a video of me drawing. As you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be discussing art block. Yes. First and foremost, I just want to say that while this is a video response to a video that was put out recently, this is not a video that is meant to attack anyone or belittle anybody's opinion. I kind of just wanted to open up this topic for more of a discussion and to kind of just break some of the stigmas that are associated with art block. Because art block is something that is a very misunderstood, very broad topic, and it really can't be covered in a 4-minute video. And this isn't so much a video response to the creator of that video, it's more of a response to the audience who watched that video, because I think that there needs to be more of a discussion, and I think that we kind of need to accommodate for all the different kinds of artists in the community, not just the professional ones. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And you guys, I took notes, okay? So if I'm looking down, it's because I'm trying to read my notes. I don't want this to be a super long video. I kind of want to make sure that my thoughts are really clear and really organized. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who kind of discussed this with me. I've been thinking a lot about this topic the last few days, and I've got a lot of different opinions that I'm really excited to kind of combine into this video. So here we go. To start off, I'm just going to offer a brief summary of the video that I'm responding to, just to kind of show you what I'm comparing and contrasting my thoughts to. So basically the summary of this video, the argument of that video, was that art block isn't real. It's that art block is more of an excuse, and really the only thing that you should do when you don't want to draw is to draw anyway. And it was targeted more towards professional artists, and I think that that was the biggest issue with this video that I had, was that I believe that the majority of the audience are young and aspiring artists. And I think while the message in this video actually does have a lot of truth to it, and I actually agree with a lot of the components in this video, I don't think it was targeted towards the right audience. I think that it was best targeted towards artists who are already working in the professional industry, or who are very serious about pursuing art as a professional career. But I think the issue is that if you're seriously pursuing art as a career, you probably don't need to be told to just suck it up and draw anyway, even if you don't feel like it, because you already know that. I mean, if art is paying your bills, you probably already know it. Sometimes you don't feel like drawing, but you feel like having electricity, so you do it anyway. So I do actually think that there's a lot of truth to the message in this video. I just don't think it really applied to the viewers watching it. So what I'm going to be discussing today is more for the viewers, the majority of viewers who I believed watched that video and who maybe it didn't apply to. So the first point that I want to talk about is, when you become a professional artist, you kind of agree to a set of terms and conditions that hobby artists and people who do art just as a passion don't have to agree to. When you're a professional artist, you are agreeing to provide a service in exchange for money. And sometimes that exchange for money comes with an added responsibility of providing that service within a certain time frame. For example, if somebody is commissioning you, they may need that commission to be completed by a certain deadline. And as long as that deadline is reasonable, you have a responsibility to uphold that deadline. And that's because you have a responsibility to uphold your integrity as an artist. You want to come off as being professional, and if that's your bread and butter, you kind of want to make sure that you can keep doing it. So having a good reputation as a professional artist is really important. And I actually discussed this with my dad, who's been a professional artist in the industry for over 20 years. And he agreed with the fact that while art block is real, sometimes you kind of do have to push your feelings to the back burner and push through and do it anyway. But if art is not your job, you don't have to check those terms and conditions, and you should never feel pressured to hold yourself to that standard before you're ready. And if those terms and conditions don't appeal to you, then I think the most important thing that you need to do is just be honest with yourself and know that maybe pursuing a career in art is not the right choice for you. It wasn't for me. And that's because when I create art, it has to be something that's for me. It has to be something that I want to do and not that somebody else wants me to do. So that's why I majored in psychology, and that's why I'm going into the field of psychology as my career. Art is obviously a huge passion of mine, and I do it every day. It might as well be a job, but I'm working for myself, not anybody else. And I think that that's the biggest difference. I think artists that start out in the professional industry don't often work for themselves, and that means that you kind of have to agree to do what somebody else wants you to do. And that can be difficult for a lot of people. So if that's not the right choice for you, that's okay. Just know that before you go into it, so that you understand that you're conforming to a different set of rules than somebody who's just drawing for fun or drawing for passion or self-expression, whatever it may be. So now let's talk about art block. I kind of want to define it a little bit, and I kind of want to expand the definition of it a little bit. So here's where it gets tricky. Art block is different for everybody. Just like everybody's art is different, and nobody is an artist in the exact same way. Art block is going to be different for everyone. Almost everybody is going to experience some form of art block at some point in their lives, even if it's in a very mild form. In most cases, art block is never going to be something that is physically preventing you from creating art. In most cases. Obviously, if you're suffering from like physical illness or injury, like you're having back problems or wrist problems or eyesight problems, that will obviously physically limit you from creating art, and that is a different kind of art block, and I think it can lead to mental forms of art block, but in and of itself, art block usually isn't physical, but I'm not saying that there aren't some cases, so I just wanted to put that out there. And there can also be like an economical or a social factor that's blocking you. You know, art isn't a cheap hobby. And if you're planning on pursuing art professionally, there can be a lot of economical factors that can limit you, because artist quality materials that are usually required by professional industries are very expensive, and not everybody can afford those right away. And social blocks, like an example of a social limitation could be you're growing up in a household where your family isn't very encouraging of you pursuing art as a career, and that can be very self-defeating and prevent you from pursuing a lot of art classes, or maybe discourage you from drawing altogether. So in most cases, these forms of art block are pretty temporary. I would say every single form of art block is temporary, and that's important. Some are more temporary than others. It kind of just depends on you and your situation, but it comes in many, many different forms. So I kind of just wanted to cover those examples first before I get to the main one that I'm going to be talking about, and that is mental art block. This is, I believe, by far the most common, the most controversial, and the most misunderstood, because mental art block can wear many different hats. Just because mental art block is something that you can't see doesn't mean that it's not real. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. In fact, for the people that experience it, it is very much a real experience. And sometimes the people that are experiencing mental art block don't fully understand it themselves. But that doesn't mean that they don't understand that what they're going through is difficult and preventing them from wanting to create art. So I kind of want to discuss some of the different hats that mental art block can take on. I think that these are the categories of mental art block that most people can relate to. The first one is mental fatigue. I think this is probably one of the most common. It's just, being tired. Maybe you've been drawing a lot lately and you have a lot more that you want to get done, but your brain is just at capacity. There's no more going on up there, and this just means that you probably need a good night's sleep, a good break, give your eyes a break, your hand a break. Your brain is telling you that it's tired. And that is, I think, one of the most mild forms of art block in most cases. It can be more severe if you are suffering from underlying anxiety or depression from other things. I think that this can affect you differently. But I think that this is probably one of the most common forms of mental art block, and the best thing to do is just realize that you're tired and that you need to kind of just take a step back and take a break. And I want to credit the video that I'm responding to, because they did mention that in the video, and I do think that that's very, very true. I do consider that to be art block, though, at least in some form. The next kind of art block that I think occurs mentally for a lot of people is the fear of failure, the fear that you're not good enough, the fear that you can't compete with others. Being an artist is a very competitive industry, and I think that a lot of people feel the pressure of competing and the fear of failure. That's a very common thing. That's a very common thing for me. Fear of failure is one of the biggest things that I'm afraid of, and I think that a lot of people can understand and appreciate that form of art block as well. The other kind is maybe you're in an artistic rut. Maybe you've been using the same materials and the same colors and drawing the same things over and over and over again, and you just can't seem to break that mold in your mind. That can be another form of art block, and I think that one of the main ones is pressure to fit the label of being an artist. And this kind of sounds silly, but I think that everybody has an idea in their head of what an artist should be, and I think that artists feel a lot of pressure from that. They feel pressured to want to draw all the time and to always create something good and new and different, and sometimes you don't want to draw, and that's okay. You don't have to want to draw all the time. I think that it's maybe a good thing if you don't want to draw all the time. I think it makes the actual process of drawing a lot more important. Again, I understand that if you're doing this as your career, as your bread and your butter, that maybe wanting to draw all the time means wanting to make a living. But again, this is not really a video talking to artists that are already in the professional industry, because obviously I can't relate to the artists in the professional industry. I'm relating to the artists that are doing this as a hobby, and the young artists who don't really have to worry about their jobs yet. They don't have to worry about making their art marketable or making it into a business. They're just making it. They're just growing and learning and improving, and that's the category that I fit into. So that's the community that I'm speaking on behalf of and speaking to. Again, just clarifying, because we know that this is kind of a touchy subject at the moment. Anyway, but I think most forms of mental art block can be summed up into a form of anxiety that is brought on by some part of the artistic process. Any one thing or combination of things that bring on even a minuscule form of anxiety all the way to something very severe. And I think that the most important thing that you can do is acknowledge that that is real. That way you can try and figure out what it is that's causing it and work through it. It's hard to fight a demon that you deny exists, right? So I think that that's the most important thing that you can do. I want to say first and foremost, because I do think that this is going to be something that is brought up a lot, doing art frequently and doing art all the time will help you improve a lot faster. I think that's why artists in the professional industry do improve as quickly as they do, is because they're having to create art all the time, and they're having to step out of their comfort zone and try new things all the time. So I do think that they improve really quickly for that reason. And if you are trying to improve quickly, then I would say drawing all the time is probably your best bet. That's how you're going to get the most practice and the most experience. But overdoing it and forcing yourself to fit the mold of a professional artist when you're too young can cause you to just burn out entirely. I experienced that for about 2 years after high school. I did not want to draw at all. And I never want to experience that again. Because art is something that's very precious to me. It's my form of self-expression. It's my therapy. It's how I keep my sanity. And I really needed that those 2 years where I wasn't drawing. But I was also just so afraid to delve into it again, because I didn't want to feel like I had to do it. And that was a really, really big thing. So don't feel pressured to draw all the time. I don't think that artists need to draw all the time. If you want to do that, try it out for yourself, see if it works for you. But if it doesn't, that's okay. You're still an artist. You don't have to draw every day to be an artist, I promise. And that kind of brings me into my next topic, which is taking advice from somebody who is ahead of you in the sense in your art journey. You know, maybe you just started drawing and the person that you're looking up to has been drawing for 10 years. Taking advice from them can be helpful sometimes, but in some ways it can also be really harmful because you're applying conditions to yourself that don't fit you. It's like wearing clothes that are too big or shoes that are too tight. You don't have to hold yourself to anybody else's standards but your own. When I made an art chat video a while back, I was discussing how everybody is kind of running their own race in the sense that everybody's in their own place in their artistic journey. We all start at different points and we all have different goals for ourselves. Setting goals for yourself is very important. It's very important to be driven and create your own goals. But don't ever let somebody else set goals for you or hold you to their standards. That's a very toxic thing, and I don't think that anybody can really benefit from that. It's okay to look up to people and be inspired by people who are, more successful and at a different place in their artistic journey than you are. That's fine, but just know that you can't hold yourself to those same standards and conditions that they hold themselves to, because it's not going to work. You have to make your own goals and your own standards. So just to kind of recap so far, art block is not something that is always physical. It doesn't always have to manifest itself in a physical way. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Mental forms of art block are very real and they're very valid forms of art block. And I think, like I said before, it can be any combination of things that lead a person to feel anxiety or depression about their art or their identity as an artist. And I think that that's something that you should preserve very carefully because it's very precious. And I think one of the things that is just the most tragic is when artists burn out when they're so young because they're putting too much pressure on themselves. So I think that's really important, and I'm not trying to talk down to you like I'm your mom. I'm still a young artist too, so I'm kind of in the same boat, but this is just stuff that I've learned and I find works for me. I think that one of the biggest things that I have with denying that art block is real is that it's totally undermining a very common and very crucial experience that so many artists experience. One of the big things with art block is that you overcome it and you learn so much from it, and it makes you as an artist so much stronger and your art so much better and have a lot more meaning because, every artistic process is a combination of your struggles and your conquests, and that's what makes your art unique. That's what makes your art yours. And I can't stress enough that your artistic journey and where you start and the goals that you set for yourself and how you improve is entirely unique to you. Nobody else will ever run that same race the way that you do. And that's why you kind of really have to acknowledge things as they come. I think that saying, you aren't experiencing art block, if perhaps you are, can be very harmful. Say it. Say you're having a hard time. Say you don't know what to draw. Say that you're in a rut, or, you don't feel like you can compete with others. And say that out loud to yourself so that it becomes real, and then figure out how to fix it. Figure out how to work through that. And I think that the more that you experience art block, the better you will be at overcoming it and conquering it and learning from it. And I think that it's hard, but it does get easier, and the more you learn, the better you'll be and the stronger that you'll be. One of the other things that I think is the most harmful about denying that art block exists, and a lot of people have touched on this and they reacted to this in the video, and I wholeheartedly agree, is that it's kind of along the same lines of denying that anxiety exists or depression exists. If you were to tell a person with social anxiety that nothing is physically stopping them from going outside and they should just suck it up and do it, that would come off as not only very insensitive, but very misinformed. Somebody suffering from anxiety knows they're suffering from anxiety. They're well aware of the fact that it's an irrational fear, that there is no logical reason why they're feeling this way, but that doesn't mean that they're not feeling that way. And that's a very, very important thing, and that was one of the things that I felt like I really needed to speak out on, was that you know, you can't deny that art block exists and not also be denying that every form of anxiety and every form of depression or mental illness also exists, because you don't see it. It's not physical, but it's still real. And I just think that that's really important, and that was one of the main things that I really wanted to talk about in this video. Like I said, I've been thinking about this a lot the last few days, and I've really tried to narrow down my thoughts, and that was one of the biggest ones that I wanted to discuss. So now I'm just going to kind of quickly recap the entire video. I know it was kind of all over the place, and I talked about like a lot of different things, so I just kind of want to quickly summarize all of my thoughts briefly for you. The first thing that you need to know is that what you're experiencing is real, and it is valid. Nobody else can take that experience away from you or belittle it in any way, shape, or form. Do not let them. Next, you need to know that you're not alone. What you're experiencing is something that many people also experience, and you will get through it, just like many other people have. I know it doesn't seem like it at the time, but just remember that you don't always have to push through and keep drawing if you don't feel like it. If you're afraid that you are gonna burn out, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to go on a hiatus if that's what you think is best for you. Just know yourself. Know yourself above anything else. Know what is right for yourself in your heart. Don't listen to outside opinions, and don't let them sway you into doing what they did to solve their art block, because it might not work for you. And like I mentioned, the more you learn about your art block, the better you'll be at conquering it and learning from it. So it all comes with just experience and time. I wish there was an easier way, but sometimes it just means being patient and letting things happen as they will. So I think the key things that I want anybody who's watching this video to take away today is that knowing yourself is very important. And knowing whether or not pursuing art as a professional career is a right choice for you is very important. Like I said, being a professional artist was not the right choice for me, but that doesn't mean it's not the right choice for lots of people. But also know that making that choice when you're too young can sometimes be a little overwhelming, and you don't have to rush yourself to be a professional artist, and you don't have to worry about making your art into a business when you're 16 or 15 or whatever it is, because you still have a lot of time, and that's okay. The next thing is that you should never ever hold yourself to somebody else's standards, not only because their standards have not been built and created for you, they've been created for that person. So you need to create your own standards for yourself, and then you need to hold yourself to your own standards. Even if it's this really big artist that you look up to and you're really inspired by, their journey leading up to that point has been a lot different, and it's taken a lot of time and a lot of work, and you will have your own journey and your own experience, and I'm sure that one day somebody is going to look up to you. But again, all of your motivation and all of your standards and goals that you set for yourself have to come from within. They cannot be inspired by anybody else. The last thing, and I think the biggest thing, is just to know that your experience is valid and that it's real, and that you will get through it in your own way. Like I said 1,000 times, it does take time, and it's not the most happy, fun, and enjoyable time, but it will make you stronger, it will make you better, and your art and yourself as an artist will grow and improve because of your struggles and because of your conquest over those struggles. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about. This has already been a ridiculously long video, and for that I apologize. But I really just kind of wanted to make this video as a way of opening up for discussion about art block. So I really do strongly encourage you guys to comment down below what your thoughts on art block are. Every opinion matters, no matter if it's different from mine or different from somebody else's, but please do be respectful. I want this to be a safe place to discuss these kinds of things, so even if you don't agree with somebody, that's okay. You don't have to agree with them, but please be respectful in the comment section down below. Otherwise, I'm coming for you. Got it. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I apologize that it was so long, but thumbs up if you like these kinds of artist community discussion videos, and if you do, comment down below some more ideas for me to talk about, because I would actually really enjoy doing that. I kind of like just like chilling here on my couch with my tea and chatting with you guys. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. So take care. Bye.